Hello drone racers, this is the leader BeeBee66 and it doesn't work. I'm going to show you why it doesn't work. So if you get one of these, you can test this before you put 2 hours into installing the receiver and getting everything set up like I just did. The problem is these teeny tiny little awesome motors. They're shorted out and they don't turn. So let me show you what happens. I'll connect it to this really great battery that it comes with, and you get really nice tones for it turning, and then you arm like you do, and you can see here, there we go. There you can see there are 3 motors turning. Sometimes motor 1 will turn and sometimes it won't, but motor 3 never turns at all. So I'm gonna disconnect here the power, and here's my Fluke multimeter, and we'll test continuity here, because what is happening is if I test the frame and then I touch the ESC pads, that one, let's see, that one's shorted. Yeah, that one's shorted, that one's okay. If I look at the other side, I can even smell it just a little bit at this point. And let's see, I've got another one on this side. Yeah, that one's shorted. And that doesn't work. It's causing my motors to just not function at all. Motor 3 is either just bad, or the ESC is bad, or it's shorted so bad that it won't turn. I can't get that one to work at all. Motor 1 sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. It acts awfully funky, but it doesn't work, which is really a bummer because this thing looks just so cool. What I'm going to do now is show you the rest of the review. I have pretty much everything except for flight footage. So if you want flight footage, I can't give it to you. I'm so sorry. I wish I could. I was looking forward to it. It's 11:30 at night here. I was setting up to try and get this thing working, and I don't have anything else I can do. Not without tearing it apart completely and trying to fix motors and rewind, and that's not going to happen. Not with these tiny little things. But I will show you how to get the receiver installed, because it doesn't come with a receiver and it's kind of a pain to get done. But I am confident I didn't mess it up. I didn't break it here. So if you get this, check for shorts before you do anything, and then move on and watch the rest of this video. And hopefully I can get another one or get this one sorted out and do a review, because I was really excited about this one. This one looks like it might be the best brushless tiny whoop yet. I don't know that I would take it over the ET100, because that thing is also indestructible, but it is a lot bigger. This thing is a lot smaller. On with the rest of the setup. Enjoy. Hello drone racers. Today we are taking a look at a brand new brushless tiny whoop. This is the FullSpeed BeeBee66. It's a 1S drone. So let's see what's inside the box. Extra props. Yay. I've never needed extra props for a tiny whoop. I think of maybe one time ever I've had to use extra props, but I guess it's nice. We get a bag with a battery, and this is a GNB 250 with a large JST XH connector, JST, not SH, I don't remember which one that is. But it's the large 2mm, which is way better than the ones that they put on the Inductrix models. This is also an HV battery. I wonder if this charger that it comes with will charge to high voltage. I've come to really like GNB batteries. They've been some of my favorites, but we'll take a look at the rest of this in a minute because I want to see the drone. Here it is. Look how cute this is. It has these brushless motors that mount in pretty much a traditional manner. These are 0703 15,000 kV brushless motors. This is a 1S with OSD, and it's an F3 flight controller on here. There's a standard USB connection that looks like it should be pretty easy to get to. Runs BLHES 16.6 is what it's supposed to come with. Has a 4-channel transmitter, so it looks really nice. This frame, when I first saw it, I was afraid was going to be really fragile, but this top carbon piece is all one piece. So it makes it really strong. There's a little bit of flex to it, but I think it'll be okay. I'm almost concerned it might be too rigid and it might make it a little fragile, or it might snap, but we're going to try it because it looks outstanding. It's a real brushless tiny whoop. I reviewed the Jumper 66, 68, something like that, and I like that one a lot, but a lot of people had problems with it, and one of the things that was weird is the motors kind of stuck out and you landed on the motors. This one won't have that problem. Unfortunately, it looks like I got the version that does not come with a receiver, so I'm going to take this top off and take a look and see what's inside and what we've got to do to get a receiver installed. So take the top off, and the top is 3D printed here, and these struts here are 3D printed, so that's kind of interesting. It's nice Christmassy colors. There's a screw here and a screw here. And it looks like you should just take those two out, I believe, and then this top will come off. Those are teeny tiny screws and they are not going to be fun to put back in. So the top has the camera mounted in it, and that's holding it at a pretty nice angle. I think that'll be a nice angle for indoor flight. So it's kind of interesting how this is being held together. There's the bottom plate, and then there's a spacer, and then you have the ESC board, the 4-in-1. You have another spacer, and then you have this top plate. So it's actually attached to the top of the flight controller. I'll make it very rigid. We'll see how that makes it respond. It'll be kind of interesting. So yeah, if you could get this in a bind and fly, I would do it, because here's the deal. For the receiver, there are pins on the bottom side of this board. There are 4 of them right there, basically where those wires are. So you have to take the whole thing apart in order to get to them. So I'm going to have to take out these 4 top pieces here, these screws on all the corners to get to the top of that, to then put in a receiver to probably slide it in here in the slot in the bottom and hope it'll fit. So I'm going to take it apart and then we'll take a look from there. Got those off with the 4 nuts and 4 screws. Thankfully, I've got a little hex driver that came with my toolkit that was easy to do. And then I find there are also hex nuts holding the flight controller on, which is probably a good idea. It separates the carbon from there. That would be bad if that happened. Except some of these are placed so you can't actually get a hex driver around them, so you got to use needle nose pliers for those. I'm a little frustrated so far for this, what I was hoping was going to be a quick review, considering it's 10 o'clock at night and I have to be up early tomorrow. I've got an XM receiver here that's already tinned because it was used with something previously, and I've got it just held down. Now I've got my wire there. So I've got ground on the outside, 5 volt in the middle, and then my signal wire on the inside. I'll hold down this flight controller and add some solder to these copper pads to make them actually stick. These are pretty small pads. This would be easier with a smaller tip. So I redid these ends and cut them to length and cleaned them up a little bit because there was just too much heat shrink gone. It's really hard to get these ends clean and nice with a camera rolling because you can't get your face right in there, which is kind of what I'm running into here right now. So there they're connected. I'm going to take a look at them and I might redo them off camera. So that actually didn't turn out too bad. So now I'm going to get this reconnected and installed in place and see how things look in Betaflight. One thing to be sure of when you put it back together after doing this is to make sure you slide it back through this frame ahead of time, because it does not fit through there really after the fact. That needs to sit there on top and that needs to go through. So you've got to slide that through before you reattach it to the rest of the frame, or else you will have to take it back apart and redo it. Okay, I'll show you where I'm at now. I've got the top frame screwed back on. The wires I end up running through the top, and as long as you clear these connections here, I've actually decided to put the receiver up in the top canopy. It'll just barely fit, but then the antenna can just stick out the top here. And I think I like that better than the bottom, mainly because I couldn't find the heat shrink I was looking for to put the receiver into. So I'm going to put it up there. Next I've got to do is figure out which way this is supposed to face, and then I'll get the radio and everything set up before I screw this top back down, just to make sure I get it oriented right, because the board is also in here at 45 degrees. This is a leader model, so I think it's probably going to be set up right ahead of time, but it's hard to say. And then once you get this far, don't forget, and what I've got to do next is reattach the screws here, because that will make it not quite as strong. So I already found trying to connect the USB is kind of a pain, because this cable isn't going to fit in there very well, but they took care of this in the bag. It comes with this USB link, which is great because you put it on here, pop that in, and then your USB connection connects here, except mine is broken. There's no connector on here. There should be a connector right there to take care of this issue, and it's not in the bag. I don't know what happened. It just doesn't work. So I'm gonna have to find a cable that will fit. Okay, I found a cable that would work for me, and this was actually out of the King Kong ET series, because they have a super flexible cable that you can fit through the cover. So if you've seen those videos, I need to update that, because the cable that comes with does fit through and it's extra flexible, so it just barely fit here and it got me connected. So now in Betaflight, what I've had to do is set up the ports. These were not set. UART3 is the port that we have soldered to. In the configuration, I didn't have to do much. It was already on DShot 600. Look at the board orientation. They did set that all up. This is one thing Leader does really well. The accelerometer is on, which I definitely want for a tiny whoop. They already even named it. I did have to set the receiver. It was set to PPM, so I have a serial-based S-Bus receiver. And I think that's all I did in here. Yeah, this is running version 317, so I would like to run 2 on it so I get all the benefits there, but we're going to test this as is first. There are definitely custom PIDs on here. They have adjusted those, so I'm not going to mess with it right now. I want to fly it the way they set it up. My receiver is working now. I've gone through and set up modes. You can see what I've got for modes here. I've got angle, air mode, arm, everything there. I can't test the motors because I can't do it with that USB port connected, so we're just gonna have to trust that those work properly. And then this does have OSD, so it was pretty good. The main thing I missed from 3.2 is the average cell voltage, and it's a 1S, so who cares? The one other thing that I wanted to look at was the orientation here. So I wanted to double check and see, looking at the model on the screen, I can tell which way the camera is supposed to face. So if you're ever not quite sure, now I can tell the USB is supposed to go just to the, basically at 130, the upper right hand corner of the camera facing forward. So now I can put this cover on it. I think I can connect the battery and try and fly it. The props for this one just press on the motors here, which I have actually had good luck with, even with bigger motors. These are kind of interesting. They're really tall. Ooh, and they catch. That's a big problem. Yeah, it is rubbing there. So did I overbend that? Did I break it already? Is there just not enough clearance? Okay, they're good. Here's what happened. Because this is TPU, this is really soft material. The screw that I put in here, I was actually off a little bit. I didn't get it quite in the hole. I was a little bit forward, so this corner was back a little bit, just a little bit, and it was enough to make it catch. Now I put the props on the right direction also, and everything seems to clear, so I think that's going to be all right. Also, then I've got my antenna sticking up here. Because this is the only part that matters, I just kind of looped it through the top here to get rid of the excess, and I think that'll work. I mean, what's the worst that can happen, right? So for the battery rubber band, I don't know if it was designed this way or not, but it was way too long. Normally it'll just go over the loop and just hold it up, but it was way too long for that. So what I did is I strapped it on one side, wrapped it around the battery, and then hooked it on the other side, and I almost think this is the way it's supposed to be because that battery is not moving. I kind of like it. Oh no. So after an hour and a half of working on this thing, I've got a motor that won't spin. Oh, that is just depressing. Jeez. For Pete's sake. So now back at the end, we still have no flight footage, but hopefully you got yours and found there was nothing shorted out, and you followed the rest of the instructions, and now you are ready to fly yours. I can't fly mine yet. So sad. But if you found this useful, leave a like and a comment down below, and let me know how it flies, because I want to know. And until next time, remember, it looks really cool, but the ET100 has been flawless now that I have everything going. So I'm going to recommend that instead.